Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with your rigged election update. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Please check out my books. If you're a big fan of politics, you're going to love Wokistan, a novel, and Hollywoke, another novel which just came out about a week and a half ago. Both on sale at Amazon. Links in the description. Also, the Pineys, books 1 to 5, horror comedy. You'll love it. Okay. This came across the wire at 11 p.m. last night after I did all my other videos. Pennsylvania judge files memorandum stating 2020 PA election likely unconstitutional. Joan hates unconstitutional. Don't you, doggy? Trump case likelihood to succeed. Gives state legislatures power to choose electors. Little hyperbolic, it's a gateway pundit. What actually happened was the original judge who said, you got to put a stop to the certification, then was overturned, and then said, no, you can't overturn that. This is unconstitutional. You can't pick the electors until this is resolved. And what's happening is the state wants to pick the electors, the state legislature, which is run by Republicans, the Republicans that, by the way, held the hearing in Gettysburg. Get it? Gettysburg, doggy? Gettysburg? And the judge is, crowing that, yeah, you're going to succeed. Because apparently, and Tim Pool has a better drill down of this than I do. Oh, all right, here. I'm over here. So excited by the news. Tim Pool has a better drill down of this. So check out his channel, and he goes through some of the stuff. He still doesn't think Trump's going to win, but that the play is to deny Biden 270 votes. If he can deny Biden 270 votes, if he can jam up the electors, it goes to delegates. It may not even go to SCOTUS. I think it will. I think it totally will. And I think that was the reason, well, not the reason, but Trump is taking advantage of the fact that he has all the a lot of the people he appointed are on there, and you have conservatives on top of that. So he has SCOTUS. I think he can win. His chances are definitely marginally better after this. Okay? So, yes, it's time to be a little excited. Check yourself, but, I've been posting the Ron Paul, it's happening, GIF all over Twitter. And a little less reported was thousands of fake votes found at Wisconsin recount in Dane County. They were all signed MLW, which is very interesting. What does that mean? According to a source on the ground, so take it with a grain of salt, more than 2,000 of fake votes were found in the recount in Dane County on Friday. However, the Daily Mail only reports that Biden's lead increased by 132 because apparently they found 132 more votes. So who the heck knows? I wouldn't trust the Daily Mail that much, but you gotta take it with a grain of salt when the gateway pundit, is really likes Trump. So, and the fact that this isn't official, but it was reported by a source. That source could be wrong or whatever. But it sounds good. It sounds good, and it sounds like the Wisconsin thing, I'm not sure where that's going, because if they recounted the votes in Wisconsin like they recounted them in Atlanta, then it's kind of a pointless recount. There has to be an audit where they compare the signatures. And if you find signatures like this, MLW, first off, that's not even a signatures, and second off, you can't have MLW on all the ballots. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So that's a bit of good news. And this is something else. Yeah, I mean, this is where we're at in terms of the fight. Now, Tim Pool's take on this is that many of the lawsuits are just a distraction to get to SCOTUS and get to the delegate recount. Right, doggy? You're so excited. So that is something I noticed in my own way. And what I said was, I didn't see the DNC really doing much. They don't seem to be doing anything. And Tim Pool is reporting that the ACLU, who is trying to fight Trump in court, is struggling to raise money. Maybe because there were so many Trump lawsuits initially, and a lot of these groups wasted money trying to go after them all, or they don't know which to go after. But Tim's take is that while everybody's all the Democrats are celebrating, oh, Trump's losing, he's losing his court battle, he's lost all these little lawsuits, they don't understand that, because the media doesn't really explain it to them, that most of the 30 or so lawsuits that have been lost aren't Trump's lawsuits. He didn't waste any money on those lawsuits. They were brought by other people who are private citizens, Republicans probably, on his behalf, but they may have just been a distraction to lure the Democrats into a false sense of security. And they don't fundraise, they don't talk about, and meanwhile, they're forging ahead, not really paying attention. Now, I think the Democrats know they're going to get it overturned. They know they're going to lose this, because Kamala Harris hasn't quit her Senate seat. If she thought she was going to win, I think she would have quit by now. I think she would quit and go forward and be like super arrogant about it. They're not really doing that. They're kind of hanging back and like watching the court proceedings. I think they may be planning their next move, knowing that Trump's going to beat them. They're gonna plan their next new move. Now, why did Biden bother to appoint all these cabinet officials? Well, I think that's part of the plan. They want to look like they're transitioning, so when they go, oh my God, he stole the election, it looks like he stole the election, because it's like, we picked all these guys and we're all ready to go, and how could you do this to us? Partly so they don't take the blame for losing the election. They can point to it and say, we didn't really lose the election, Trump stole it. But partly because whatever they plan for the post-election second term Trump, they could come out of the gate swinging with the most momentum. And the momentum will be Trump stole the election. Perhaps they actually have a plan, their wacky plan, to secede from the Union. There was this simulation they did, and the end of it, California, Oregon, and Washington attempted to secede from the Union. Now, as a libertarian, I have many things to say about secession and how it should be peaceful, number one, but also how it's totally legal. However, the problem with the West Coast seceding is they're broke. And when I say they're broke, if they were to secede, in other words, form their own countries, they would have to pay back the federal government the money that's owed to them. There's also a great deal of federal property in those regions that they would have to buy back or get back either through force. I don't think they'd be able to muster an army. They could maybe go through the legal motions and explore the options, but ultimately I don't think they could afford to do it. They couldn't afford to do it peacefully, and militarily it's just not going to happen. The West Coast is not going to seize nuclear warheads and hold us hostage and say, well, we'll fire on you if you don't let us have our own country. I don't think anybody, I don't think there's any groundswell for that other than in a handful of Antifa guys who don't have the power, discipline, or, wherewithal to even pull that off. I think what they'll do is they'll make a lot of noise, they'll saber rattle, and they'll try to change the rules in their favor. They'll use it as a wedge to undermine Trump in his second term, and look to position themselves for a midterm comeback. And the midterm pitch will be, you got to help us because Donald Trump stole the election. See, I think they're planning for 2022. They know they've already lost. And don't get me wrong, I think they certainly could win. They certainly could win this. And then they have their transition team and they're ready to go. But I think my sense is, my feeling is, they know they've lost. And now they're just sort of setting things up so they could crush the Republicans in 2022. Come back in, turn Donald Trump into a lame duck president for 2 years, and then really impeach him and do all the things they promised to do, which they kind of can't. If they win in Georgia and Trump wins, that'd be incredibly interesting. I don't think it's possible for Trump to win and then to win Georgia, because I think if Trump wins, there's going to be such an exposure to how bad the elections were. I think the Democrats are in real trouble in a lot of states. You're going to see other elections flip over. I mean, Tim Pool talks about Sharn Parnell, and he's in Pennsylvania, and that he would likely benefit from whatever happens in PA, and it could flip the election for him, and then you got another House member. So I think the same thing could happen perhaps with one of the Senate races, and it could end up the Senate races in Georgia being heavily scrutinized, like beyond. And obviously, if Trump overturns everything, they could then use that as a pitch to say, well, you got to vote Democrat. You know, you can't give Trump this power because he's abused it and blah, 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 blah. I don't think it really matters if Trump wins, because I believe he already has 50 senators, and that would make Pence the tiebreaker. So I think he's still okay in the Senate, but be better if Republicans won, you know, just in case, you know, if we have the Senate and SCOTUS going into a Biden administration, you know, that could jam up Biden for a lot of things, and that would keep him a lame duck. You could then take back the House in 22, probably impeach Biden and or Harris. I think you could definitely impeach Biden. I don't know about Harris, and you know, come roaring back in 2024. But I think Trump's on the victory path. I really do. He's not acting like a guy who's going to leave. Maybe that's part of his shtick. You know, a lot of people are saying he's got to pardon a bunch of people, Snowden and Assange and all these people. Yeah, I think he can and should. But he could do that all on the last day. That's what Clinton did. I believe it was all on the last day, all his pardons. Here, you want to go back? So I think that's still an option too. As they say on the internet, break all their toys. Declassify everything. Pardon all these guys. And really just salt the earth. So when Biden comes in, it'll be really tough for him to gin up another war. He'll have to waste months and months trying to get the people on board with it, and just at least slow down the military-industrial complex enough so by 2022 we could put the brakes back on. So good news. It's happening. It's happening.